this world as metaphor than someone like Professor Anton. Whereas Professor Anton is still stuck in this, wow, that makes the poets correct. He doesn't really get the fact that there's some of the things we're calling metaphors aren't that kind of metaphor. They're just analogies, a mapping, arbitrary mapping. So, you know, to Nietzsche, it's a metaphor when you take the wavelength of light of, you know, whatever nanometers, and the brain perceives that as red, right? So that transfer of that fact that we would think of the more material fact of the light out there into red, that's a metaphor, you know, in this sense. So that's how we get back to real life, is that we have the source, you know, our perceptions and what we see and hear and all the other perceptions, and those are already metaphors by the time we start considering them.
Yeah, your mic is a little loud, Pyro. But whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess it's just I'm just getting just tired of. There's no, you know, there's no conversation that can get maintained. It always gets pulled back into some sort of Professor Anton kind of babble, you know, some sort of gift of life kind of crap, and then you have to go through this whole thing arguing about, no, this isn't the way you describe this class of thing. You're not allowed to pull a word like gift out, you know. It just doesn't have any relevance, and so then it distracts the whole conversation. It's so easy to distract every conversation, getting lost in a metaphor or some other kind of bullshit.
Well, exactly. I mean, he thinks that you can just trace them around however you like, and really they do trace to a source, you know, this evidence. And if you can't trace them there, you're kind of wasting time. And I think this is the sad fact that Anton pointed me to this essay, is that this essay contains all the kinds of criticisms I was making about form and versus degree and its relation to these issues, and he was already familiar with it. So obviously he's not at all, and he just says, oh, it's a problem.
Yeah, listen, bro. Oh, yeah, you're like so hard on, well, I'm gonna, you know, tell this guy this and this and this. Listen, dude, if you want to put a fucking, like, seriously, if you want to put a fucking, like, little love letter together and you want to say, okay, well, yeah, I'd like to, like, ask you this, I'd like to ask you that, then you can go ahead and do it, all right? I don't mind. I'll probably answer all of them, and it might not be like what you like, but they'll be honest answers.
Bandit, I hate you. Bandit, I hate you.
So, all right, hey, listen, dude. Yeah. These like
motherfucker
left over there.
Could you please get a room or something? Shut the fuck up, man. Thank you.
Oh yeah, shut the fuck up.
What an asshole. I don't know what the hell he was doing. I don't know what the fuck he was doing. Shit, it couldn't be that drunk. Well, maybe it could be. But whatever. Oh, that was fun. But yeah, it's like you can't even talk physics. You know, it's like I made these stupid, I don't know whether you saw my last two videos. You can't even have a conversation about, like, physics. I mean, some asshole is arguing now in the text on my video. Nonsense. I mean, the speed of light slows down. So the constant that is the speed of light isn't the speed of light. The speed of light slows down when it goes through something thick enough, right? I mean, come on. And so they're just so distracted. They're going to waste your time arguing crap that has nothing to do with what I even wanted to get to, which was, well, I don't want to get into it, but no, gravity doesn't make it slow down. Gravity changes its direction, so it has to cover more territory. Not even, that's not the wrong way to put it.
Well, it is a weird thing that light goes slower, for example, through glass than it does in a vacuum. I mean, the value of C in the equation is the volume through an idealized vacuum, and there's some quantum thing, but it's not really that weird. It still doesn't make it not a constant. It has more to do with the fact that, you know, there's this distortion of space, just like with gravity, having to do something with the, these lattice works in the crystal. But as a detail, it is true. It does slow down in glass.
Well, how do they demonstrate that, though? See, this is what I'm saying, is how do they demonstrate it's slowing down? Isn't the fact that they're saying it's slowing down have to do with what they're saying is that maybe its frequency can change? But if frequency doesn't have anything to do with speed, so how the hell can they measure its speed through glass and say it's moving slower? That, to me, I don't buy that, number one. I don't buy it as I don't buy it as a testable proposition. You gotta close your mic, you black kid. You wanna let this
Well,
it's too stupid a name to stay in any room.
Well, I mean, the empirical way to do that, and we'd have to see how they did it, was, if you bounce light in glass enough, you can make it travel a pretty long distance, and then you can actually measure how long it took. But there's other things, just like in optics, the principle of refraction. When light hits at an angle, it bends the light. And just like you said with gravity, from certain perspectives, that can be related to a change in sort of the, its propagation speed. But I don't know how they measured, but the way you would measure is you'd bounce it back and forth in a glass tube, millions of times, and so that you could measure when it bounced out how long it took.
I don't even know how you could control how it bounced out, but that was actually thinking about that. Something very similar. I was just thinking what would happen if you, I've never done the experiment. Somebody must know the answer. But if you pointed two high energy lasers at each other, what would they do exactly? I mean, would the laser go into the other laser and reflect out of the the lasing source? Or, I mean, it's just kind of like, what would happen to the energy? Like, would the energy start multiplying? Because if it has nowhere to escape, where would it go? I mean, I just wonder if it just like destroys one of the lasers. I mean, if you point two lasers at each other, I just wonder if you destroy one of the lasing sources, or, I mean, I was just curious what would happen. I don't know, it's like I just wish I had more time. Wish I had like a whole another life I could just live and just do, like, be a chemist and then be a physicist and then be a bunch of different people. Because I would like the answers, even though these questions are kind of irrelevant. I like the answers.
Eddie.
Yes.
Why'd you lie about Mel Gibson? What's up with that?
Who are you talking to? What the hell are you talking about? Do you have to be this dude? What are you doing?
This is serious.
No, it isn't serious. No, it isn't. Mel Gibson. It's not serious, okay? Mel Gibson. No, not serious.
Here's the thing with the, I found this interesting little page. So they were pointing out the reason light goes slower in a material is because there's electrons in that material. So the light goes through the glass, and it's not empty space. So since it's an electromagnetic thing, it pulls on the electrons that are around and shakes them, but it's all sort of like a wave, so they keep vibrating and the light keeps going, and it doesn't necessarily keep the energy, but there's sort of this rubber banding of the electrons around, and this, in the end, mathematically adds up into a kind of it's not a friction, but it ends up making that wave's propagation speed slower. So in a way, the wave's going just as fast, but it's spending time moving these electrons, so it's sort of, in the end, its direct line of travel is slower. So it doesn't really make C not a constant. C is still a constant. That's what I was looking at. I put a link in there, too, and it's just this school thing, but there's a lot of interesting ways they measured the speed of light.
I guess what I'm getting at is that there could be alternative explanations I guess, between, whether we're talking about distance, because